So good evening. This is Wednesday, right?
Yep.
August 31st, the meeting of the Community Preservation Act Committee is a preliminary matter. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and some of the attendees are participating, in fact, all by video conference. Accordingly, please be aware that folks may be able to see you. Anything you decide to screen share on your computer or anything you broadcast will be captured and recorded. I'm Tim Wheeler, Chair of the Community Preservation Act Committee, and let me confirm that we have a quorum. Caroline
Here.
and MJ
Here.
and Eloise.
She's going to use that I'm working excuse again. I just know it.
Well, we know she's
She's-
here and I'm here. Eloise, if you do hear us, say hello, but we know you're hiding there somewhere in your office. With a quorum of the committee present, I'll call the meeting to order at 7:04. The open meeting of the Community Preservation Act is being conducted remotely consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency. Governor's order suspends the requirement for open meeting law and to have all meetings held at a publicly accessible physical location, and allows and encourages us to participate remotely. For this meeting, Community Preservation Act Committee is using the Zoom platform as posted on the agenda, which includes links for the public to join this meeting. Please speak clearly so accurate minutes are recorded. Each vote in the meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Thank you very much. Everybody has the agenda. Does anybody anticipate anything added to the agenda that we don't have on it right now?
Is that what you emailed earlier today?
I emailed.
No,
I
you
emailed
emailed Carl's
proposal.
thing.
Maureen emailed the packet with the minutes
Oh,
last week.
yeah, I'll grab that.
So we'll approve the minutes. If we have bills to pay, updates from committee members, administrative assistant, payroll discussion, community preservation 2023 plan, CP3 report, a little conversation about our account balance, the CPAC town webpage, and then two conversations, one with Rec about the tennis court project and one with the Ag Commission about their fence proposal. And then some application issues that we want to discuss as well. So Maureen has been very busy. So she's got a lot that she wants to chat about. So approval of the minutes. She sent minutes for a number of meetings, four, in fact, January 26th, February 17th, February 26th, and August 2nd. Do we have a motion to accept those minutes?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And any additions or corrections? All right, hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote on this. Carolyn,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Eloise. Well, we have a quorum and we have, I'll vote aye, so that's 3 in favor, 1 abstained, let's say, for now. That takes care of the minutes. Bills, we have no bills, to my knowledge.
Correct.
We've paid the consortium theoretically.
Yep. Amy confirmed it went out.
Great.
Oh, good.
So they'll be happy and they'll be willing to answer our questions. So Wayne, for a point of reference, what we have is an opportunity to utilize the Community Preservation Consortium, which has an office in Boston. It has really 2 staff, to my knowledge, a gentleman named Stuart Saganor, and Chris Mack, Chase Mack. Anyway, Mr. Mack. And they have a website that has just volumes and volumes of material, reports on what other towns have done, community preservation plans from other towns, templates for how to put a warrant article together for a land acquisition. So we are a member of the consortium, and so we're, as I guess it's probably based on size, we pay about $1,750 a year as dues for that. So it's helpful, very helpful. But we don't, so we've paid that. Anything anybody wants to update us on committee member wise? Carolyn, you want to report on your good news?
I do. So in case that you haven't heard, the Conservation Commission, the Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness Grant that we applied for, which out of the 3 that we were going to apply for, paid the most money out. And we received the grant. That was officially announced yesterday, but announced to us about a month ago. $874,263, I think. And that money will all come back to CPA. So I know, good news. That's what we were hoping when, everyone was kind of giving us the hairy eyeball about putting in for all of the money, or a fair chunk of the money, the first 2 times we were accepting applications and making recommendations at town meeting, and it wound up paying off for us. We got 100 acres of land for less than $200,000 once we get the reimbursement, and a big pot of money to spend in CPA.
Do you have any idea how much Sudbury Valley was given by individual donations and such?
I don't. I could find out if we needed that, or
I think, it'd be valuable to have that data as we do some of our bragging, I guess.
right.
Because
Well,
most-
so I do know that Sudbury Valley Trustees is paying 1.2 million, and
Okay.
we're paying 1.1. So, at least 100,000 has been raised by them.
And then 50 was part of a big chunk. Wasn't there 50?
Mm,
Wasn't there
Mm.
something?
right, in kind of the itemization of where all of the money was coming from.
Right,
They were planning on at least 50, but it's really more like 100,000.
okay, good.
Yeah, yep.
Anything to update us on, MJ?
Not committee wise. This is my last week at this job, and so starting Monday, I'll be working at the Berlin General Store instead, and so I won't be commuting to meetings from Concord anymore.
And the store closes when?
Oh, I'm leaving the job. The store isn't going.
I know, but the Berlin General Store,
At the moment at 7 o'clock.
and you'll be working a shift to 7?
Well, I don't know what days it'll end up being.
Okay,
I'll probably have more flexibility on that.
perfect, great. Eloise, do you have anything to report? Oh, hearing nothing from Eloise. Very good. Okay. we have some decisions to make and a recommendation that June would like in regard to the manner in which Maureen is compensated. And what this, I don't know, let Maureen explain it because she'll be more fluid about it than I will probably. And then we'll have some discussion and we'll vote on a recommendation. So
Okay.
Maureen, go ahead.
So this is not with the signature aspect. This is actually the weekly payroll. So the decision that the commission needs to make, and it's been a couple of different factors. Dennis thinks a consistent hourly rate would be beneficial because it's something that the retirement people like to see, and it puts me in the retirement versus the waiting period of 15 months if you're only 25 hours. June states that that could be okay, but I do think she would prefer to have a true accounting of what I am working. So I keep going back and forth on it. I think because of the classes that I'm going to be taking though regarding the procurement, I'll probably be at 7 hours a week anyways. So I think that will satisfy, Dennis's concern. And then I could probably be truthful to what it actually is. And I think it's important for you all to know. So Dennis was like, you could just log it, Maureen, and you make a report. And then at the end of the year, you'd really see what your admin needs really are, whether, because like they fall off at certain times of the year and then they're escalated at other times. So there just needs to be a vote on what you all feel is best. I'm pretty flexible. I haven't been paid yet though, even though I've been working for you for a month, so.
Oh, no.
So,
Well, we've got to get that
Yeah.
fixed.
yeah.
How many hours would you say you spend on it a week?
So in preparation for that, I did write a little cheat sheet. So like the first was like 4.5. Last week was 10, just because there was a lot of, research and stuff that was done. I would say that, so let's see. So the week of this, August 7th was 4.5. The week of the 14th was 7. 21st was 7. And I'm assuming this week, just kind of guessing on how long this meeting would go, would be 10. So that's why I kind of came up with that magic number of 7, which then puts it into that sweet spot for Dennis over the 30 hours.
Because what this is a combination of Maureen's time with the assessor's office and our activities. So it's the cumulative number per week. But as we've said, we're going to move forward with her participation in the training for procurement. And remind us that that's how long a program is that? How many weeks?
So, when I looked at it, Tim, I think it almost can be kind of self-monitored kind of thing. So I have to nail it down as far as when I'm going to do it.
Because it's
Right.
online.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like if I committed, at least 2, and it is so funny when you're supporting a board, which I've done, of course, for many years, you have, your strong week, which is your meeting week, the week before and the meeting week, with the minutes and everything. And then it kind of falls down again where you're just kind of like talking to particular applicants or whatnot. So I think it's good on my part, it's probably going to be a combination of both, meaning that I'll still log and you'll have a good record of what I'm doing, week to week, and see how things change. And then just get something into the accountant. But it's tricky because you don't want to be audited and have no accountability, especially where there's no true office. Well, there will be true office hours. I will be doing that Wednesday afternoon.
Right.
Yeah. Which will at least be an hour and a half every week.
So the payroll slips that we signed, we all signed a couple, I think, right?
You all signed one.
Yeah.
And it should have been paid this week, but it, for whatever reason, it was not in my paycheck this week.
Okay,
I did not bother June. I knew we were meeting tonight. I figured we would just go ahead and get that. But that's obviously coming up in another session. I think we, even though we're going to probably vote tonight for one signature, I
Right.
think it would be still beneficial for everybody to sign all of those time slips because they're before this particular vote.
right. So as you recall, I guess you do this in conservation. You're the designated signee, Carolyn,
Correct.
and they specify you, not the chair. They specify you. So what we want to do tonight is have me specified as the signator for the committee to sign Maureen's pay stub, their pay accounting, and then that can get submitted more fluidly instead of having to get everybody's signature.
So I'll make a motion for that. Let's get that done.
All right, we have a second,
Second,
and any discussion on that? So what this is doing is it's saying that I can sign on behalf of the committee her time sheet, and that way everybody else doesn't have to wander into the town offices and sign.
And I have a form for you all four to sign that you did that, even though. We'll be-
Yeah, this is the hard part about meeting on Zoom.
Yeah.
Right,
So I'll submit that into the little
Into the
file
folder.
thing. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
any other discussion? All right, so we'll vote on this. Carolyn,
Aye.
MJ,
I,
Eloise? Eloise is abstaining, and I'll vote aye. So that establishes that part. Now, for the second part, so you've given us options here, Maureen, and it seems as though you may be leaning toward the notion of putting down actual hours and going with those and seeing how that plays out. Is that true?
That is true.
Okay, so if we have a motion in regard to how we want to do the payroll for Maureen, then we
Right, well,
can-
just before we make a motion, I was just wondering if 7 hours is gonna be enough.
well,
So-
what we're
Yeah, so-
saying is, go ahead, Maureen.
I'll do a minimum of 7 to make so that there's always a time slip every week, and Dennis will be comfortable with it, that it won't fall under that 30. But what I really would prefer to do is try to be accurate up
I
until
see.
the point, and then once I'm established, I believe in the retirement, I think then it doesn't matter how much I work. So it's just that 15. And I would just also recommend in your motion that you make the statement, something about not to go over the amount designated as the admin amount for this kind of thing. Like, because June obviously has a certain amount on what should be paid within a fiscal year for this particular.
So
thing.
if you averaged 8 hours a week, and what is it, 25 or 26 or something like that?
Yeah, 26 something, yeah.
So if it was 25 and 8 hours, that'd be 200 a week, that'd be 800 a month, that'd be about 10,000 a year at the most. And that's well within what we've got in our admin budget. So unless we were to spend a ton of money on other administrative costs, there's no problem with that range. And I don't foresee us going too much beyond 8 hours. I mean, there'll obviously be some weeks where we will, and there's other weeks where we won't. So then we'll talk about a number of the other things that you're going to be tending to. So it's easy to see that, you know, there'd be attention paid to a number of different items on a, you know, on a monthly basis at least. And as a result, I think it's going to average out, like we've said, for a pretty good balance. So we want a motion that's essentially saying we're aiming for 7 hours a week, and that Maureen's going to be keeping track of actual hours, and that'll fluctuate over the course of each month, and we can review this again when we get into you know, after we've worked at it for a couple months and see where we stand. All right,
All right, so moved.
we have a second,
Second,
and any further discussion? We'll take a roll call on this. Carolyn,
Aye.
MJ,
I,
Eloise has decided to abstain.
Aye.
Oh.
Was that James?
I think Eloise must have a sore throat.
Yeah, she says,
Are you hiding there, James?
oh, we have voters present. so.
Okay.
Oh.
Thank you. An aye for me, so that passes. What time is it? 25 past. Okay, so we still got 20 minutes. Good. On an annual basis, we're supposed to update the community preservation plan, and we're supposed to hold the public hearing, at which time we do that. I would say that we ought to put a good amount of attention into the discussion of the plan the next time we meet. We'll invite somebody from the Historic Commission to participate, since they don't have a representative, and we'll get conservation, and we'll ask Eloise to be prepared to give us some further information about what the housing partnership is doing or planning to do as part of their enterprise for the coming year. So if
are
that,
we going to be getting anyone from historical to actually be joining us?
they currently have 3 members. I think they anticipate adding a 4th member. And I think I'm going to encourage them to at least appoint an interim member so that they have a vote at the table, because otherwise they're not represented. And it's not like our meeting schedule is overwhelming, so I would think that it's in their own best interest to participate, and so I'll chase them on that and ask them to plan on attending our next meeting, where we'll be discussing the plan, so we can get any modifications to the language added in, and then get the plan. We'll have to have a public hearing, which I would assume we'd shoot for sometime in October, perhaps, and get the public hearing squared away so we can vote on the plan and get that posted on our website as an updated report. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Yep.
Do-
Go ahead.
I know we don't know if there's gonna be a fall town meeting yet. But do we want to set some sort of deadline for applications to us?
So let's talk about that a little later,
Okay,
because we've got that on the agenda. And that
yeah.
fits in with there's a bunch of issues that are related to that. So the next thing we've got is the CP3 report. The town has to file with the state a CP1, a CP2, and a CP3. We're responsible for the CP3. I've managed to find a way into the website so we can work on it. And Maureen, have you had a chance to, did I send you information, Maureen, on how to get into that site?
No, we briefly talked on it last Wednesday when we met, but did not
Okay.
get that much further.
So we've essentially got 2 weeks to do that. What we'll do is I'll send you that link. And then if you have a chance to poke around at that before next week, then you and I can sit down and they tell me it's not terribly complex to fill out. I talked to Linda from Hudson, who's on the CPA committee over there, and she said it's basically just reporting what funds you've agreed to spend on projects and what actually has been spent. And I think in our case, there's the major funding for the Conservation Commission's projects that have got, well, have you drawn from those funds, or how's that going to play out? Carolyn? Is
So
that money, we still have that money, or
we still have that money. We have to pay that money out.
we have to pay that to
um,
Sudbury Valley? We pay
Right,
to
and
the-
then we put in the rest of the paperwork to the what's it, the EEA.
Okay,
And then we get the reimbursement. So we will probably, my guess will be we would see the reimbursement money towards the end of the year.
okay, so we'll be saying in our report that the money's been voted, but it hasn't been accessed yet.
It has not been taken yet. The PNS. Finally, everybody signed the PNS. And I believe, I mean, that we're just getting that back to Sudbury Valley trustees. I think we're hoping to close in October. Maybe the end of September. Maybe we could do it as soon as the end of September.
Okay, so, but in terms of our report, it'll indicate that there hasn't been anything taken from the account, but it's been voted.
Correct.
And the same will be true of the Historic Commission. I don't believe they've touched any of the 200,000. They've used some of the 5. And then we'll get a more accurate view of what's been expended out of the funds to rec. I know they've finished the sign, I mean, the scoreboard and stuff. And they're hoping to move forward on the other part of that project. But nothing has been spent on the courts. So most of this money that we voted at the 2 town meetings is still sitting in our designated fund balance, the designated accounts or the fund balance, the budgeted reserve. So
I think the 390 that was approved at the first town meeting is now in an account. Well, I don't know. I know that we're getting, and June gives out the sheets saying how much money you have in which account. I know we're getting a sheet that shows that 390. So I don't know if she's just moved it into a conservation account and out of the CPA account.
yeah, and Maureen, can you check in with June just to get a more thorough, the ledger history allocated summary that she gave me just had 3 figures, 24,000 for admin. And then the budgeted reserve, actually the budgeted reserve of 283. So that's all it said. It didn't say anything about any of the other accounts. So we will need a more accurate rendering of what's in those accounts in order to fill out the CP3. So if you could check with her.
Yeah, I will see. Remember, we got that big thing last Wednesday when we were sitting in town offices. I'll try to go through this and kind of just do my own Excel and see if I can come out with the numbers that she's kind of got on here.
Okay,
I know her biggest concern is the fiscal year kind of break off, so
right,
even on these reports that I think they go to the Department of Revenue. Like, even if we know we're gonna be getting, we have to figure out what the cutoffs are on that, like, CP3. And then just kind of, it's almost like, you know, how when you do town meeting, an annual town report, it's
Right.
so hard to do it because it's like, you already know this happened, but you can't say it yet in the report because it only ends in December. So I got to figure out that too, but I'll see what we can get. I know she's pretty swamped right now, but hopefully after the holiday that's coming up, we'll all kind of settle back into real work mode and get it all kind of done. But I'll see.
Well,
what I-
and Kristen's starting in a couple of weeks, so that'll help.
That will help a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see the CP3 before you try to fill it out, just to get an idea of what they're asking for?
yeah, so I'll send her the magic codes to get into that tomorrow or tonight, and then, because then she can look at it and I'll look at it, and she and I'll get together next week, and with what we've got from June, we should be able to patch something together pretty quick.
Right. And then hopefully from here on out, June will always still provide the reports, but I'll also keep an accounting on ourselves, and then you'll have something that's reconciling. Hopefully to zero every time.
We try to do that at conservation. We keep
That's
our
all.
own numbers,
Yeah.
and it's so hard.
I know, yeah.
Yep.
But fingers crossed.
Yep.
I'm just texting James to say we'd like them to join our meeting so we have a quorum.
Ooh.
All right, good.
Yep.
Yeah, so account balances, I emailed Stuart to say hypothetically, what happens to funds that are, whether you get a grant or reimbursement, when that money comes back and matches CPA expenditures, how does it come into our hands? Does it first go to the designated buckets like conservation or housing or historic? If it came from them, does it go to those first, and then does it go to
Can I
the,
shut off my other computer? Oh,
no,
okay.
don't shut off your other computer, just stay with us in terms of showing up on the screen. Is that all right, Eloise? She's gone again. Anyway, good. So, and then does the other funds, if they're in any greater amount than what came out of those 10% designated fund balances, does that go to the budgeted reserve, or does it go into our general fund? And for June, this is important because she wants to have a handle on, and I said to Stuart, if it goes into the account, let's say the Conservation Commission account, does that mean it's immediately available for a project that might come at a special town meeting? So if you did have a special town meeting in December, let's say, and we got reimbursement from the state in November, would that money go into the Conservation Commission's, the Conservation Fund? And because we took 48 and 56 out of those, or close to it, 56, I think. So does it go to those, And then is that money immediately available for a town meeting that might follow it shortly thereafter? So I've thrown that question at Stuart, and
So, but
hopefully
he hasn't answered.
he's on vacation according to what Linda said. So I haven't heard from him yet. So he's usually pretty good. I would think I'd hear. She said he's coming back tomorrow. So I would think I'd hear from him quickly, and then I'll share whatever he says to us with everybody before our next meeting, hopefully. Because that's important to understand. Right now, we've depleted most of the Conservation Commission. I mean, it is appropriate to say that. We depleted the Conservation Recreation Fund we're pretty complete on that. And there's some money, I think, still left in it. Housing hasn't been touched at all. The Historic Commission has used a substantial amount of its money, but they're going to be in the same position. If they get a matching grant at some point, how does that money play into the accounts, and when is it available? So hopefully we'll hear from him. And
Well, and then the other question is, so when we get money from the state every year,
right,
at the next town meeting, we have to designate the 10, 10, and 10.
right,
Then we do the 5 for admin, and then the balance of that, we have to put into budgeted reserve.
right.
We have to allocate that at town meeting. With this 874,000, even if we put back what we've taken out of the conservation rec, if those two numbers that you said were, accurate, that's about 104,000. So that's going to leave us $770,000 just potentially unallocated.
Right.
So,
June,
but since that money had been allocated to begin with, does it just go back into the budgeted reserve, or do we have to do that again
right.
in order to get access to it again?
Yep, that's the question.
Right.
And now Linda from Hudson felt that it goes into budgeted reserve, which means availability
Is immediate.
pops up potentially quickly. I mean, there's that window of time where June is closing the books and you can't play with any of the money. But then that window opens up again. And so that's, again, I'll review it with Stuart and then pass on what he says to us. But that's where we stand budget wise. We'll get some updated figures from June. We should hear from Stuart, and we should have a better idea of what would be available if we were to have a special town meeting in December, let's say.
Right. And I will try to have a more accurate timeline for our next meeting as well.
We got a couple minutes before Carl. Maureen, do you want to talk about the website and some of your thoughts and plans?
Where every time I put my camera off, you pull me back in. So, yeah, so I went and looked at a couple of the other websites. I actually went to the 2 previous towns that I worked at and were familiar with them. And well, I've actually, in the meantime, I did update, so everybody knows, updated the fact that you do have 2 vacancies on the website. Went into the My Town Government and updated all the approved minutes that Carolyn had forwarded on to me. So you're all in great shape as far as that goes. But I do have to say, the town of Stowe has a really great website. They actually track all their projects, for, what the cost was going to be, what the final cost might have ended up being, the start date, the completion date. So it's kind of nice for, the residents to actually really be able to see what's happening with the different projects and where the funding is actually going to. The link to the coalition, that's kind of like a no-brainer. A fact sheet's kind of interesting to kind of have it out there, because that's someplace you could actually even, just thank the residents for supporting, this to coming to town and being utilized. And that was it. But like, the total per bucket is also out there on different websites, which I think is also great, because you never know, there might be like even a single resident that might have had, like what actually comes to mind is the town of Concord. I have a friend that lives over there, and there's been a single man, he's not really part of any commission or anything per se, like an appointed commission, but he wants to try to get paved bike paths that would link from Concord over into the town of Bedford kind of thing. So he, as an individual resident, is kind of also look for, CPC funds kind of thing. So if the buckets are out there, that's kind of helpful and kind of just whatever. But, I think the most important thing is probably try to get, maybe a little blurb about the notice of the vacancies, because you're obviously looking for them to get up to what's mandated, what you have to have. It's not even like you're going to have like an alternate. It's like it's a mandated situation. So, but there's a lot of good ones out there. I think actually, and honestly, I think the one that you all had actually was pretty good. It has a good link to anybody that might be interested in actually asking for an exemption into the assessors. So that's nice that application was on there. And we just need to update. We have the old plan, and I would do that too, is I would keep all the plans. Like, so you had the 2020 plan, currently the 21, you want the next one and whatever. So that's just a little research I did on that. And I don't know if there's anybody that's likes to design and do things with web pages, but I'd be more than happy to work with them and just, take an afternoon and make it what you all want it to look like.
Yeah, I think the notion of someone being able to go and see what projects we've funded over the course of time. And because we've done so few, it's fairly easy to get that up to speed, but then people have a good idea of the transparency is there from the beginning. So I like that. So, yeah, and you've got access to My Town Government, and you've got access to the website, and we'll get you access to the CP3 thing. So you'll have access to all those different forums that we need to work with. So that's great. Any questions or comments about the website before we move on?
No, I think as we get more projects under our belt, we can even put pictures of projects and stuff like that. But, right now it's, like Tim said, we just in the beginning stages.
Yeah, that's what Maureen was talking about too. She suggested the photo notion as well. So I think,
Right.
it's true. There's a lot of good stuff we could put on there.
Right, we have in the past, though, talked about when CPA funds are used for projects about putting up signs. So I assume we'll do some sort of ribbon cutting, something probably in the spring
Right.
for the Horseshoe Pond property. We should definitely keep on our radar that we should put up a sign there.
Yep. And we can use our administrative funds to pay for that. So
Right,
that'd be good.
yeah.
Yeah, I saw some examples of that probably on the website for the consortium, and I thought, yeah, that's exactly where it would be appropriate to brag and be transparent at the same time. So
Right,
it's 7:48. So Carl is in the audience.
he
Carl
he
there?
is. Yeah.
Let's bring Carl in. And I sent you you have his updated, can you put that up on the screen after we get a few comments from Carl?
We
Is that possible?
And, yep, I
All right, so,
get it ready.
And Carl was having someone else join him also, a woman by the name of Deborah, I believe.
oh yeah,
Deborah Rowe.
She's, yep, she's here as well.
Yeah.
let's bring her
Let me
on. Hi,
promote
Carl.
her.
Hello, good evening. Deborah?
And Deborah's here too.
Yep, she's coming on now.
Yeah,
Hi,
there she
Deborah.
is.
Go.
Great. So you guys applied that round that we had last time, and we decided to put the money into the open space pot in a significant way so we could try to get some of that matching money. Carolyn told us a little earlier, and perhaps you've already heard, but Carolyn, do you want to tell Carl if he hasn't heard what you heard yesterday?
So the Conservation Commission has received the MVP grant that we applied for. So that was the big one. So
Yes,
we're
I saw that
getting,
on the Facebook, the
Oh,
town's
yeah.
Facebook.
yep.
Good.
Great,
So that, all that money comes back into CPA, or a
Terrific.
significant chunk of it. So it means that now we've got access to, and that was our goal, to work on some of these other
Right.
projects. And so we appreciate the fact that you guys were willing to be put into the back seat for a spell here, but
Yeah.
our goal is to, if there is a town meeting in the fall and the funds are available, and that's what we're working on now, when will these funds come back into our coffers and how will they be available, essentially?
Mhm.
And we're having some conversations with June and with the consortium that advises us on ways in which to use these funds. But because your application was delivered to us before and all, it seemed appropriate to give you a chance to update us as to anything that's changed with it. And to make sure that you're still interested in applying to be considered as a project that we might vote on. And then, we'd try to work on the notion of, if there is a fall town meeting and it's possible to have funds available, that if we were to recommend your project, that we could use that as a target date.
okay.
So,
So first of all, yes, we are very much interested in going forward with the project. I emailed you an updated quote from Arrow Fencing Company.
and
that we
Carolyn
use.
can pop that up for us if
I
I
can.
mean,
Carolyn's gonna put that
okay,
proposal on the screen for us all to
okay.
share.
So
there you go.
nothing has changed from a technical point of view. Everything is the same with regard to the statement of work and all the requirements as we originally submitted. The only difference is inflation. So the price went up by $1,967. Excuse me. The total project cost estimated at the present time is $41,309. That's arrived at by adding, from the estimate there, you see the figure of $40,036. And right above it is an option for an additional gate, which we believe we require, for $1,273. The sum of the two numbers should get you to $41,309. As I said, for a delta increase in the estimate of $1,967. Now, we will, of course, assuming that this project gets approved and the funding gets approved, we will be going out for competitive bids because it's over $10,000 and we're obligated to do that, obviously. And at that time, we can put in there a request for alternative approaches to see if anybody else has any ideas. And it'll be what it'll be when the quotes come in. So this is our basis at the present time. It's the best information we have financially. Any
That's-
questions?
That's great. Questions from the committee, Carolyn or MJ or?
My only question is he willing to hold this quote for any amount of time? 30
No.
days, 90 days? No.
No, he didn't state anything in his terms and conditions, nor has he in the past. And given the current economic situation, I don't think we can fault them for that, the way
Right.
prices are changing. This went up $2,000 since we submitted back in January, so. And again, that problem may be all resolved when we get other competitive bids too. They're gonna be on the bidders list as well as other potential contractors.
So is your application for the 41,309, or are you gonna add a little bit to that just to cover your bases?
Well, I don't know what the rules are. I mean, again, what's the time frame as to when we would receive the money? You mentioned, Tim, I think a fall special town meeting. Is that correct? Did I understand that correctly?
Well, there hasn't been a determination that there'd be a fall town meeting. There are other issues that I think may cause people to say it'd be appropriate. So, in our experience is that generally we have one. So
Right.
I think there's a better than 70% chance that there'd be a fall meeting.
So I guess one could arbitrarily say, by the time there is a meeting, whether it be a fall meeting or the May meeting, by the time the funding is received by us and for use, by the time we get a formal solicitation out and the bids in, we're probably talking another 10 or 12 months perhaps. And if this price went up, I'm going to use a round number of $2,000 since they submitted their original bid back in about a year ago, I guess it was. We could arbitrarily put another $2,000 in there as a protection for future inflation growth.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
if it doesn't materialize, then obviously we're not gonna need it.
yeah, so you're almost talking about a 5% contingency or something like that.
Yeah.
That would,
Right.
Right, I'd almost put the number for the application at 45.
Okay,
Nice even number, gives you a little padding.
Yeah.
if that's
um,
acceptable to everybody else, I'm fine with that. I don't have an issue with that, certainly.
I think there's, we'll check into the appropriateness of that if there's any problems with
Okay.
that sort of approach, but
I have been reluctant to do that, not knowing what the ground rules may or may be on that subject, so.
well,
I'm just going with the quote.
I mean, a contingency makes sense.
Right.
And especially in these times. So I would think that that would be acceptable, but we'll find out definitively as to whether that's the normal course of action.
Okay,
One of the conversations that we had, Maureen and I had with June was, and Maureen reflected on what she's experienced in other communities that she's familiar with in regard to CPA, and that is that some towns don't allow any CPA funds to be expended other than at the annual town meeting. Because we've made a conscious effort not to expend money if we can help it from the anticipated revenue, I feel a little more comfortable about using funds that are in hand essentially when and go into a fall town meeting and using those funds. And Maureen and I talked about the whole issue of, if someone comes to the annual town meeting and isn't quite ready, they don't have all their ducks in a row, to say you've got to wait a year before you can apply is a long time. And particularly like in this instance where we asked you guys to hold off because we thought we could capitalize on this opportunity to match up with the state, having you have to wait till 2023 from 2022 in May seems like it doesn't seem fair essentially to me. You're almost ready, you're at the finish line, but we're telling you we like your project, but we don't have the wherewithal to fund it at this time. Wait another year. So, my sense is that if we're using funds that are already in hand instead of anticipated money, I think we as a committee ought to feel a little more comfortable with that. Do other folks have thoughts on that?
Only that I know from working with Hudson, on the plastic bag ban. I know that they tend to have a policy of their, fall town meeting really being just for housekeeping issues.
Hmm.
Because their fall town meeting is so much less attended than their annual. That's not really the case for us. We
Right.
don't know, I mean, it's not as well attended, but we do business at both. We get a reasonable attendance at both. I think if it's a big controversial thing, we as a committee may decide that it should be at the annual town meeting, but for I really don't think Carl's garden fence is gonna be all that controversial. And
Pretty basic.
Well, if people don't show up to a meeting, I mean, obviously you don't want a situation where just a few people are voting on something, everything's being, but if people just opt not to pay attention to a particular meeting and it has fewer participants, I don't see that as really a major issue. They have the right to be there. They should know they can be there if they choose not to be there.
correct, and I think the one in Hudson, they also routinely have around Thanksgiving. And so, with people traveling for Thanksgiving, it's also not as well attended. That's also not our practice.
Yeah.
So I think it's completely appropriate that if we have a fall town meeting, that we recommend, a project of this nature at a fall town meeting.
Can I just add something as a bystander?
Oh, please.
I mean, it's not hidden under a bushel basket either, though. It's publicized what you're voting on. If it's quote unquote controversial, or something like that, I mean, people would show up. So I mean, we did get approval when we were doing the town administrator position. We were doing work at the fall town meeting. So I mean, it's public. People are aware of it. If it's an issue that people do or don't want, if somebody didn't want to support something you were putting out there, telling them is going to be voted on, they'd show up. So that would just be my view as a resident.
Thanks.
I guess I have a bystander comment also.
Sure.
Didn't we last fall vote on 3 things that CPA put forward as well?
Mhm.
So precedent has already been set in that regard.
Right.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't blending my meetings.
That gets easier to do as the years go on.
Yeah.
Tell me
No,
about it.
you're exactly right. That's already been our habit. So if the funds truly are available, I think the inclination of the committee is probably to work at expending those at a special as well as in an annual.
And some things are time sensitive anyhow. Either there's going to be a grant available, so having the money, or it seems particularly with open space type things that, okay, if you're going to repair a court or something, being able to do that in an off season before instead of waiting, through a whole season of something not being able to be used would be, a major difference. So I think anything we can get done in a more timely manner is a good thing.
Good.
Yep. Yep.
Any other questions for Carl while we've got him? I think we're good. Thank you, Carl. And
You're welcome.
And thank you for your
And-
patience.
and Deb.
No problem.
No,
No
that's
problem.
good.
Let me know if you need anything more. If
Yeah,
anything
we
else,
will.
I'm gonna do.
Yep, and yeah, we'll be working on formal presentations and that sort of stuff. So we'll figure out a schedule for that.
Okay.
We get a better inclination as to whether there's going to be a meeting or not.
Mr.
Good,
Chair,
good.
can I just make one request that I do actually get an updated application? I have his old one, but just to have the nuts and bolts of the,
Yeah, so so if you can take your data, Carl, and update the final application, I guess, that we've got on our website.
And you want me to reflect the 45,000 in that application?
Why don't you go ahead and do that and
Okay.
then we'll check,
Sure.
but I think my sense is that that's gonna be an appropriate way to.
Right. My sense is that we can recommend whatever, and it's up to the town, it's up to town meeting whether to accept that number.
Mhm.
If people feel strongly that they don't want to approve the higher number, they can always knock it down to the number.
Um,
You can go down, but you can't go up.
well, with CPA, you can approve, you can disapprove. There's three choices. And the third choice may only be that, I don't know as you can modify the number.
Oh.
It, I'll look for that, and share it later in the meeting, but, at this point,
I would hope so long as we are allowed to have a contingency. I mean, I can picture someone in a town meeting trying to knock out the contingency in particular, but I would think for a project such as this, or things like this, historical stuff, that things are likely to go up, so a 5 or 10% contingency, I think I would want in there. I would want us to approve a larger amount so that it didn't just get screwed up because a few extra dollars were needed and we had to wait for another meeting to be able to do that.
yeah. So Carolyn, you're right. We can approve, we can reject, we can reduce, or we can reserve to the reserve account. So you could say, we want the money placed into conservation and rec and held there, but not expended, to be determined at a later time, that sort of thing. So,
Right.
which essentially puts more than the 10% into that account. So
So
that
either way, Carl's should be fine with the 45.
should be good.
Okay, and when
All
would
right.
you like the revised application in by?
Well, I mean, don't break your neck because you've got
Okay.
plenty on your plate, I imagine, but,
I
you
sure
know,
do.
You know what?
it's
Jim,
not a big lift.
Carl, would you like me to just email you a fresh application now that they have an admin? I can go ahead and do that next Wednesday.
You mean the form itself?
Yeah, and then you can just email it back.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, then that way it'll be easier. Then that
Yeah.
way you don't have to
You
worry.
you have my email address, do you?
Yeah, Carolyn and Tim forwarded on. I think it's
Okay.
probably on there, so
Okay.
I'll go ahead
Yeah,
and.
why don't you send that to me and, things are still busy here at the farm, so, I'll do my best to coordinate it with Deborah and get it into you folks as soon as I can.
You won't
Great.
see me till next week anyways online, so there you go.
Okay.
All right, nice
Right.
meeting you.
Same
Thanks,
here.
Carl. Thanks,
All
Debbie.
right, you're quite welcome.
Thanks.
Have a good evening, folks.
Thank
You too.
I'm gonna-
Let's bring Mark on.
All right, one sec. Let me put these guys back. And we will bring Mark forward. There you go.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Doing well.
So, what we wanted to do tonight was get a sense from you as to what you've got a couple projects that we've funded, so we wanted to get a status report on those. And then how you see the court project playing out moving forward.
Sure. So I'll go to the easy one first. Baseball had requested the funds for the scoreboard and announcers booth. The scoreboard has been completed. We're just waiting on an ad panel, and then they're going to issue an invoice to us, which we plan to pay with the CPA funds. The Announcer's booth is also been designed. We have a contractor, and they say they're going to be building that, I believe, in October. And I believe that pretty much exhausts baseball's kind of project they had. Those two things.
So you had 20,000. A little less than 10 went to the scoreboard, and then you used some other funds to deal with the foundation and all that sort of stuff. Is that
Yeah,
what?
Clinton Savings Bank had given us, I think it was $8,000 or $10,000 to basically use towards basically installing the sign, which is pretty costly. So we were able to use those funds, and then what we have left over, we're going to put towards the the announcer's booth there.
Good. And what's your announcer's booth is going to cost how much?
I don't have the exact cost in front of me, but I think it was around 9,700.
Okay.
We should put a sign up on those too.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So we can work with you on that.
I'm gonna write that down.
I hear you know a sign guy.
I might know one. Yeah.
Here we go. We like that.
Yeah.
And the courts.
Yeah, so the courts, we've actually been working with June over the past couple of weeks to kind of get things back on track with that. We had the design, we had the quotes, we had it all planned out, and then basically like the formal writing of the RFP, we lacked the kind of knowledge and experience and kind of coming up with. So we were working with Margaret for a while on that, gathering information. And then obviously she was out for some time. And then since she's been back, we've kind of worked with her. We've worked with Mary a little bit. And now we've kind of are taking a fresh look at things with June, and basically trying to get this thing over the finish line to, get the RFP out there and, get some bids in and hopefully, complete the project.
So Kristen will start on the 16th. Is that it? Whenever. So,
Yep.
Yeah.
So she'll be here and able to assist, and she's certified in procurement, so I think she's familiar with some of these issues the way in
Yeah. And speaking with June, I think we'd like to try and get it done before she starts, just to not have it on her plate. Because the RFP, I think as we see it, is about 95% done. So obviously we'd love to help if she is able to contribute, or we need her to, but I think June had said to try and get that done beforehand.
And what's your sense now? Are you comfortable with the figure that you're working with, or are you going to be short?
My hope is that it all works out. So we had gotten bids of around 117, 120, 130, and I believe we requested 150. So we kind of built in the cushion, knowing that it was going to take some time to actually, get the work done, and things can go up, they can change. We also have some additional money in our savings, which we could contribute to the project. I think around $15,000. I don't see any reason why it should exceed, 165,000. So I think we do have that cushion built in. So.
Now, my
Yeah.
recollection is that you got 100,000 from us.
Do we have funds from elsewhere? Maybe ARPA funds, or?
I'm not sure. I think but my recollection is that we committed 100,000.
Okay, I know we had total 150. I don't know where the other funds came from, and I apologize. Julie typically handle this
Okay.
stuff, but kind of filling in for her. I can get that info though.
And I'll check again, but that's my recollection. It was 100. But you'll dig into trying to figure out where that other money comes from.
Yep.
Good. All right. Is there anything we can answer for you right now?
I guess probably our biggest question is, do these funds ever expire or kind of run out? it's very timely time on this.
I mean, in Hudson, I talked to Linda Galoni today. She's on the CPA committee there. She said that they do in Hudson, after a period of time, go back to some recipients and say, you know, you've had this for 5 years. You've expended 75% of it, but it's not clear that you're going to expend the other 25. And so as a result, you know, unless you can convince us that you're really going to utilize it, we'd like it back so we could circulate it into other projects. But this 100,000 is there, it's for your project, and as long as your project is actively moving forward, it's yours. So it doesn't disappear.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's good. I
That's the
do,
good part.
I do feel like we're very close to the finish line as far as, you know, getting out to bid and kind of having at least like a set date where it's going to be built. I mean, I don't realistically think it'll be done by the winter, but we're hoping to get on someone's calendar for, you know, the first job in the spring.
Great, good.
That'd be awesome.
Yep, definitely.
Any other questions?
Nope.
Maureen, any questions or thoughts?
Nope, sounds good, you know, obviously they're working with June, so this is all good.
Good.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, thanks, Mark.
All right, thanks, guys.
Tell Julie we forgive her.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So the next thing on our agenda is the whole notion of deadlines and timeline. And, you know, what we had said in our plan was that if you wanted to be considered at the annual town meeting, we needed we wanted a preliminary application on a rolling basis, but we wanted the final by December 1st. And if you wanted to apply for a potential fall town meeting, we needed an application by June 1st. So clearly we had the June 1st application by the Ag Department, and they've updated it. So I think they're in a timely fashion. They're fine. And right now, I don't know of anybody else that's looking to come up with a project. I wondered if REC would discover that they needed additional funds and might want to modify their request with some additional funds, but it doesn't sound like that's the case from what Mark just said. And so they wouldn't necessarily be filing anything with us for the fall. So that makes life fairly simple, which we like.
Gonna be an easy one. Gotta take them when we can get them.
Well, we all get a chance to catch our breath and so let's talk about deadlines though. Do those still make sense in our minds?
I mean, I think our thinking is especially the one for the annual town meeting, because those tend to, that warrant tends to close early, mid-February.
Right.
So December 1st gives us 2 months to vet a project. If we need more information, it gives time for those people to, proponents to find the information, get back to us, finalize, because our drop dead date for recommending projects is when the warrant closes.
Right.
So I think the December 1st one, certainly. June 1st might be a little early for a fall town meeting, because that's 6 months before, that warrant doesn't tend to close that tends to close a little closer to the actual time.
Yep.
So we could probably even extend that to September 1st.
I asked Margaret the other day about the notion of our really formally agreeing that there should be a fall town meeting on a regular basis. And thinking that it might be something that the select board would sponsor. But there is no reason that individuals couldn't put an article on the warrant to suggest that there actually be a formal designated fall town meeting, and that we could put it to a vote at the town meeting, we could. So that's something that we should,
I have
not
a
necessarily
feeling,
as a committee, but as individuals, that's something that we might want to think about.
yeah, I have a feeling Eloise might have some things to say about that.
Did she raise her hand?
She did not. She must be busy
She-
with voters again.
She's abstaining. Okay.
Um,
No, you're right. But towns, a lot of towns do have 2 town meetings, and I think if you know ahead of time and you plan for it and you schedule it in such a fashion that it interferes as minimally as possible with this election cycle,
right.
which may very well mean it has to be in a December timeframe, early December, instead of, November is a
It's just-
disaster. If
Oh,
you,
you need to find out when the grants come out and when they're, so that if we need to, similar to the conservation grant, we can take advantage of that. And from what I see, there's often no rhyme or reason to when a grant opens and closes.
Yep. But if you were going to choose September, October, November, December, Eloise, you would prefer December?
I would go with either November 14, December 5, or the 12th.
Okay,
Stay away from the holidays. I would prefer it not to be the day before the November state election.
Good Lord,
But
no.
you do like to provide a little excitement in my life.
Right. In October, you're getting ready for elections when it's an election year, correct?
Yes, now that they're doing early voting.
Sure. Yeah, that drags it out for you.
Oh, yeah.
yep. Okay, so we can have some more discussion as we update our plan, because that's what we'll look at the application process too. Maureen has been tweaking the application form, and I would think the next time we'd meet, we'll look more seriously at that, because she's streamlined it based on her experience with some other towns. So a lot of the information is right there in front of you immediately, the real important stuff, and then you dig into the extra layers as you proceed through the document. But so we'll look at that next time probably. And then when we get into this plan discussion, the application we've included with the plan, so we can talk about the modifications to how the application is laid out, and then talk about deadlines as we get to that stage. Meeting dates. We sent around a proposed series of meeting dates for the next 6 months.
Was that in that same email?
Yeah, do you want to pop? I think it was in there, wasn't it, Maureen?
Yes.
So you can pop that up.
Yeah, hold on just 1 second. Meeting dates, document. Geez, I'm a little out of Zoom practice here.
Been taking too much time off.
I know, right?
Well, it's, you know, you're unemployed. What do you think? You know?
Right? Maybe gotta relax when I can. Okay.
Maureen, do you want to run us through this and talk about some of your thoughts?
Okay, I mean, basically, I kind of broke it down into if there was a special fall and obviously with the annual. So just, you know, we actually, Carolyn, when Tim and I were going through this, we actually looked at your calendar. So that
Thank
we
you.
didn't, back on your time.
Yeah.
We kind of was still thinking with going with the Wednesdays. And then I just took the lead in from how you would have your regular meetings and then you would do public hearings if you are going to start that practice of maybe having public hearings for when you do your votes on your recommendations. So these dates don't conflict with Carolyn's schedule. And we thought they were pretty good. I'll have to talk with Mary to see if you guys want to still try to do that 6 p.m. We weren't able to get the Zoom tonight for 6. It had to be 7. So we'll see what we can do about that, because Wednesday nights, believe it or not, I guess is quite busy for meetings. So Mary from the town administrator's office did suggest trying to get these on the calendar and get the Zoom rooms. And then that way, if they need to be canceled, they need to be canceled. But, you know, and they just kind of put what like the headings there, like the pre-application, you know, like it's kind of like the timeline on how an application would work. And then your other regular meeting stuff would be in there. So the up top would be as if there was like a late November, early December special town meeting. And the other works with your annual town meeting that would happen in May. So those are the dates that looked like they were workable.
So as
We would
Maureen,
be the day, we would, November 9th would be the day after the elections though, that, if I'm not mistaken, right? Was the elections the 8th?
That is correct.
That's correct, yeah. So,
as Maureen said, Mary just advised her that setting some dates far enough in advance so that you can secure the Zoom link and all that probably helps, because, and it's been true. I mean, we've asked for meetings, you know, 2 or 3 weeks in advance sometimes, and we've had to shuffle around or find that some other committee is willing to finish their meeting by a certain time so we can plunk in after them, that sort of thing. So setting a schedule and then deciding that we don't necessarily need to meet if there aren't hot topics is fine. But this way we're assured we've got an opportunity and we can all sort of forecast when we might need to be around. And then if a number of people aren't going to be here, we'll know ahead of time so we can try to keep our quorum number up.
this is probably healthy also for anybody that might be interested in joining, that if they see the dates kind of out there, that kind of is helpful versus, you know, to fit into their lives, that like say if someone knows Wednesdays don't work for them, you know, it might not work. And it's also very helpful for applicants and posting public hearings if that needs to be the case. So when you have a date to work back from, it's, every admin loves that. It's a lot easier.
So, I I very much appreciate you working around the conservation meetings. But Eloise has to work on Wednesday nights. Is there a reason that because sometimes we've been doing Thursday nights too.
Yeah, MJ, Thursdays weren't especially good for you.
Yeah,
although-
so with my schedule, I had been that Wednesdays were generally a day off. One of my guys is on vacation, so the
Right.
only reason I'm still in this job was to cover that. But I think going forward, I not sure what my schedule will be at the general store, but I think I'm gonna have more flexibility especially if a meeting is scheduled in advance, to probably rearrange schedule to be able to make meetings. I mean, it's tougher when I have here in Concord with a 3-person staff. There's really not much room for changing around, but the general store has more people involved, so I think probably, any day of the week would be equally fine. And when arranging my schedule, if we were going to have, say, Thursday meetings frequently, I endeavor to not be working Thursdays. Every other Thursday.
Right.
To be able to build that schedule around that obligation.
My meetings at the Regional Planning Commission tend to be Thursdays. There's one. The last Thursday of the month is always tied up with that, but we haven't. Well, we would target some of those, I guess.
Right.
Uh,
I have.
Right
capital-
now, go ahead.
I have capital planning on Thursdays. Our
Yeah.
next meeting is November 3rd.
So Eloise, I guess the question is, how do you feel about participating in these meetings while you're in your office on Wednesday nights?
If
Would you ra-
James is here, I can work around it.
Okay. I mean, would you rather that we open up another option, and would that make life dramatically different for you, or?
It wouldn't matter.
Okay. So maybe trying to aim at a Wednesday does make sense.
Okay. I have already something planned for September 14th and October 12th.
Really?
Yeah, because when when you have something on Wednesdays every other night. But those are the only 2 days that I currently have a conflict with. So I could do Tuesday, the 18th of October and Tuesday, the 20th of September.
So it said you can transmit them electronically. I wouldn't know how to send them.
Those dates work for me. Those dates, MJ, those dates potentially could work for you, I guess, huh?
Yeah, so long as I know in advance, I think I can build around
And then, Eloise, did you hear those 2 dates that Carolyn gave us?
What was that? October?
18th is a Tuesday.
October 18th?
Yep. And then September 20th.
September 20th is a Tuesday.
Yep. They're both Tuesdays.
And October what day?
18.
Okay, yeah, that is a Tuesday.
Yep.
I mean, if I have to, I change. I do the best I can. If I can't, then I won't show up. Or you can start with a quorum, but you don't have to end with a quorum.
Well, those 2 dates, the 14th and the 12th of Carolyn won't be here, so that would mean as I understand it, we have to tell the selectmen we have an opening. They have to post it officially. They have to leave it open for 2 weeks. Then we can make a suggestion as to someone that we know and love could be appointed, and then they can act, right?
That's how I understand it. They have to get sworn in by Eloise and then they
So-
can start being voters.
So Eloise, is that procedure only for elected officials, or is that for appointed as well?
It's highly suggested for appointed, but I don't think it's cast in stone.
It doesn't have to be a joint meeting in this case. This is it's
This is a
large,
straight appointment.
it's in a large position. So, I mean, we could start off by, we can talk about this in a minute, but maybe if there's someone that we know that would be interested in participating, we might act on that this evening and make a recommendation to the selectmen, but they might very well say, we'd like to post it and go through that.
That is their prerogative.
Um,
Do we know anybody?
well, we'll talk about that in a minute, but I have a sense.
Suspense is
does-
killing me.
Hey,
So
wait,
let's-
is Gates Pond getting overrepresented?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, it's not my fault. We're all active down here.
So Maureen, let's jump September 14th to the 20th. Because then we're assured that we should have a quorum.
And you might be okay, actually, because if you look at those two particular meetings, they're just highlighted on here as regular meetings.
Yep.
So you may not even need that September 20th.
Now, the pre-application on the 28th, what we've always said is the pre-application is rolling and that it would need to precede the deadline for the application. So that one, in this instance, we could part with, especially where we're moving the 14th up a week. I
But
mean,
but aren't we talking pre-applications for annual at that point? Because your December 1st is your deadline.
well, yeah, now we've said pre-applications are rolling.
When this was designed, so the top part
Right,
is it's going to bring you to special town meeting if it's happening, but the applications, you'd want your applicant to come in like October, November, if you're going to be making your decisions on December 1st for your annual.
well, so we're gonna be getting final applications for December 1st, but the public hearing for the application we've scheduled for February, which means we would then vote on it immediately. And if we approved it, it would be submitted for inclusion in the annual town meeting. Right?
Yeah, so as I view it, it's so in the fall, you have people that, got buzz about a project, so they
Right.
do the pre-application. And then you want them in front of you so you can, tell them, okay, what we need is this from you, that from you, that from you. Then they need to bring it back in and it needs to be stamped in for December 1st. And then after the first of the year is when you're going to have your, or in December, whatever, your presentations. And then a public hearing, if you want to take public input on it for your voting. So it's almost like both, if you're having both meetings, it's almost like both times there's simultaneous kind of action on both sides, like
Yep.
both annual and, yeah.
May I interrupt?
Yes.
When you get stuff, could you please pass a copy to capital planning?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, Maureen can send you the one we've got from Carl, because that looks like the only one we're looking at right now, but who should she send that to? Anna,
Anna Crane.
do you have her email, Maureen?
Yes. Oh,
I can do it. They must just have, well, Eloise and I see each other every day, so I
She'll-
can
she'll
get it. to
share
her,
it.
Yeah, yeah.
That'd be great. All right,
All right.
So what you'll need to do, Eloise has like a form that's, that you vote for these to be the dates. My one question to you all is, what time is it going to be your start time?
yeah, so what's good for people?
7 works better for me. My new job, I have to work till 5 o'clock every day. Ugh.
Even weekends?
No, not but I never have to work a Saturday again.
Ever?
Woo. Well, in my current job, if I keep this job forever, yes.
And MJ, what time's better for you?
At the moment, I don't think it matters too much. If I were working, probably 7:30 would be better than 7, but. that's-
Okay.
Yeah, and 7:30 is fine with me. Just the 6 was very early for me.
Yep.
Yeah,
And Eloise,
you have to vote.
7 works for you?
Yeah, she said just as long as she has Jane, she can do that.
If we do them on Wednesdays, yep.
You have a
Right.
birth certificate for Evelyn Rose?
Okay, but
Right.
we're gonna target the 20th of September for our next meeting because of Carolyn's
A lot of
conflict
them
and
online?
the need to have a quorum.
He called yesterday.
And so are we saying 7:30 instead of 7?
We're into elections.
Sure.
Up to our eyes.
7:30, okay.
Good. Yeah, we can experiment with that and see how it goes.
So
Okay.
why don't somebody make a motion to accept the dates as discussed? And then I can go ahead and move forward. And like I said, they can always be changed and canceled, but at least this
Yep.
will give
So
you guys.
we're saying the 20th of September,
Tuesday.
and that can be preliminary, the pre-application thing, we could jump to that date if we want. I mean, that, and then not meet on the 28th. And then October 18th, is that what we said?
Yep, 18th.
And that, if I think that's the date that we should probably anticipate for having the public hearing for the
The
Ag Commission
plan.
project.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Well, okay, that's the question. Maureen has talked about the fact that in Groton, they hold a public hearing when they act on the applications. Their presentations are at a public hearing. So that you notify everybody that there's gonna be this activity. And we're not required to do that, but shall we, I mean, is that something that appeals to folks? As opposed to just having a meeting and doing what we've done in the past?
I mean, I guess it's, again, what we've done in the past hasn't been much. And, but there certainly will be meetings, projects moving forward where I think that will certainly be beneficial. So I guess if we're gonna do them ever, we should probably do them for all.
Right. And so the question is, do we want to start the public hearing process in this round for this one project that we've got from Carl, or do you want to wait until the spring?
If we were to have a fall town meeting, when do we think that would be decided by?
Well, sometime later, I imagine if Kristen's on board by the 16th, they'd have to decide before they got too far into October, because they'd want to be saying the warrant was going to close, either the end of October, the first part of November, because they've got to, it's like Carolyn said, this time schedule's truncated for the special town meetings, but if it was going to be in December, I think we'd all like to know that it was going to be on a certain date before we got too much longer than a month from now.
Yeah, well, I just don't see any point of having a hearing if we don't have this special town.
Good point.
Yeah, okay, so,
Especially since the project could have new issues come up in, 6
Yeah.
months time. I think it
so
I
let's,
only want a hearing if we definitively are going to.
okay,
Right.
so it sounds like we're saying, let's not do a hearing this time for this one project because of the scale and the schedule. But it's something that we'll look more seriously at for
What's the matter?
a spring annual town meeting.
Right. And we do still need to hold a public hearing for the community preservation plan.
That's right.
So,
And if we make good progress at our next meeting on the plan, and we feel comfortable that we can put it to bed, then we could look at the 26th, still at that point, to post a public hearing. So we,
Because of that, you
could-
should probably keep the meeting of the 28th if you don't make that much progress on the plan.
yeah,
the
let's
26th.
let's
the
let's
20th.
Let's
September,
Saying to keep the 20th and the 28th.
yeah, and
Oh, I
then
see.
if we decide
yeah.
we don't need the 28th, we can bail on it, and if we
Right.
need, we can keep it. Okay, good.
All right, so September, hold on.
20th,
September 20th, September 28th,
yep,
October 18th, and October 26th.
yep,
November 9th and December 14th, if there's a town meeting.
yep.
And so are those the ones we're voting on right now?
Let's do those right now.
I make a motion to.
I second.
We'll do a
I'm
roll
sorry,
call.
we've just been.
Carolyn,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Eloise,
Oh,
Tim, aye. It passes.
all right,
All right, and then we'll look at that second part of the schedule the next time we meet.
excellent.
Open seats. Carolyn, have you had any luck trying to find anybody that might be interested in being appointed as the at-large delegate by the select board?
I have talked to one person.
Anybody we know?
So you might be familiar with him. His name is Wayne Texera.
Hi, Wayne.
Hello.
Hi, Wayne.
What do you think, Wayne?
Do you hate me?
Yeah, no more than before, right? Whatever that is.
Right. Wouldn't have expected anything.
That
different
just
from you,
leaves it
my
open
friend.
to that just leaves it open to interpretation as to
Yeah,
what it was
good.
before. No, I mean, I don't think I know a lot about the the rules and things like that, but I'm sure I would pick those things up. I mean, I've paid attention to it since it was voted in, and I was supportive of it. The schedule doesn't seem to be, beyond what I'm capable of committing to. I wouldn't want to commit to it if I didn't think I could do it. So that the schedule you were just you know, looking at makes sense. And, you know, I think it would fit with my time schedule. I mean, you know, and I'm, you know, listening about this particular project you had goes tonight, and I don't know what else is there. And, you know, it's great that you have administrative support, which is great. So I think it's good. So, you know, yeah, sure. I'm interested in having my name put forth to be on the committee. I mean, you know, I'll commit to do it for, you know, a year, you know, I won't. So at least.
Aren't
I'm
they,
assuming it's a year.
they're a year, are
It-
they
Is it
1
a
year
yearly
or,
appointment?
yeah, are they
I-
1 year or 2-year appointments? 3. Oh, that's all
And
right.
I'll stay on. I'll do it. That's fine.
it's,
Well, Carolyn can make new friends next year if we need. to.
Yeah,
No, I mean, I didn't know what the commitment was. I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I get it. I mean,
well,
and I've
what
done
it is
public.
it's, MJ was just appointed for a 3-year cycle as the at-large member, and James was the other at-large member, and he chose not to be reappointed. So it would be his term essentially, which means that we're partway into it. So it's not a full 3 years, but it's damn near. But I mean, like Carolyn said, she knows a lot of people in town. So if for some reason we fell into disfavor and you decided you didn't want to spend evenings with us now and then, you could probably abandon ship. But
Yeah,
the
no,
nice thing
I'm
is,
not looking for that. Go ahead.
I think the nice thing about this committee is that the work we're going to do is fun. You know, it's not like school committee or select board or, you know, those. I mean, there'll be times when a project might not be what we think is appropriate, and we might not vote for it, but I think in most cases, we're going to be able to guide folks along so that they can fit their project into the scale of what we're after. And I mean, and having an opportunity to use money that benefits the town the way this has already, it's fun, you know, it's what you deserve, an
Yeah.
opportunity
I
to
mean,
do it.
Yeah, no, when Carol mentioned it to me, I definitely think it sounds like good work and not brain busting necessarily, but you have to be responsible because there's certainly significant money involved
Yep.
here. So, I mean, you know, I take it all seriously. So, and I've
Well-
certainly been involved in different parts of town government here and there. So I'm not a noob when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, no, I mean, I'm interested. And if I had any, I think it was smart, Carolyn, to say to attend this meeting to kind of get a sense of what I'd be getting myself into. And, you know, I can see that, you know, and I think it seems like it's a good group. And, you know, I think that's the other part of it. The purpose can be fun, but if it's not a fun process, who you're dealing with, that would probably be the end of it for me. But more than anything, I think I can commit to it. So yeah, I'm fine with having my name put forth to the select board if that's how it works.
Well, and as you pointed out, having administrative support through Maureen is significant. That,
Right.
you know, most boards that, you know, you get involved with in town don't have that type of support.
Yeah.
And as a result, you're running through a lot of exercises that, you know, aren't related to making the decisions. It's, you know, it's trying to put pieces together and make sure that the world doesn't fall apart. So.
Right.
Maureen's
Yeah.
presence. is a
No, I
big
think
plus.
I think just listening to you tonight talk about filing paperwork and pulling together applications and things like that and having that support makes a huge difference.
Yeah.
So,
right.
you know.
So
No,
do we
I'm
have
up
a
for it,
motion?
so.
I'll make a motion to put Wayne Texera forward to the select board for the at-large seat.
If,
I will second that motion.
and the only catch is that if we'll check with them about their procedural preference, I guess. I mean, they may very well ask us to wait for the posting to be up for a period of time, and then we, come back with a recommendation, but we'll go ahead and
Well,
pass
the
this on
vacancy
to-
has existed for a while, so shouldn't that, like, it already be listed on the vacancies for town volunteers? Like, we may not have
Well-
put out a bright orange
Right.
sign that said, hey, we need this, but it's not been a secret or anything.
It is posted on the CPA page on the website. I don't know how long
Whatever-
it's been posted there, but
Whatever the process.
Week.
a week, well, see, so then by the time we get on the agenda for the select board,
Select
it'll be
board, right.
another week.
Yeah.
So, all right, so all those in favor, so Carolyn,
Aye.
MJ,
Aye.
Eloise is abstaining, okay, very good, and Tim is aye, so that's,
And if
Um,
Tim has his way, we'll meet on Zoom forever. So you, that makes it a little easier too.
I mean, at some point, when, after April, whatever, in 23, don't we have to,
Is that when it's currently till?
yeah, and we may.
And then we'll have a new variant. Huh?
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, we can talk about this, but I mean, if we're gonna do a public hearing, we may very well decide that at the public hearing for the updated plan, we might very well want to meet in person and or do a hybrid. That's technically, you do hybrids for the Conservation Commission?
We don't,
Oh, you don't?
no. But I think one of us just brings a laptop.
I
Is how
wonder
I
if there's
would
a
imagine
more,
it's
I
done.
wonder if there's a more formal way to do that through cable access, if we can chat with them.
I don't know. Because some people are doing hybrid meetings, correct?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I don't know how that's done.
So our next meeting is gonna be the 20th
Of
at
September,
7:30.
right?
Okay.
Maureen, what have we missed?
I think you did a great meeting, very efficient. I gave it 2 hours and I thought that, and you're right on the money. There you
Well,
go.
It's all a function of you putting together such a good agenda with so many prepared documents for us to work on. So thank you.
Well,
Did
you're
you just say
welcome.
7? Did you just say 7:30 or did you say 7?
7:30.
Oh, okay.
I think we're set.
All right.
Does Maureen send out or somebody send out the Zoom invites? Is that how that works?
Yeah, I will go ahead and what I'll do for everybody is I'll go ahead and I'll send them the meetings that you all voted on tonight, and just so that you have it like as an attachment to something, and I'll send that to you. And then what I usually do is usually the Thursday prior to the meeting that you'll be having. The only complaint about Tuesday nights is Tuesdays are tough to post if I didn't do it in advance, because
Right.
they
You have
always
to
have
do
that
it on
crazy
Friday.
Monday holiday that throws off the 48 hours.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm usually pretty, and I don't work on Fridays, but, so what we've been doing is sending out the agenda and at least the minutes the Thursday night before the meeting that you'll have, so that you can review the minutes and see what the agenda would have. And, and then the agenda is usually approved by Tim, so we'll usually get together on that Wednesday, and then you'll see the invite come straight through from My Town Government, and you'll have the link.
Super. Thanks.
Pretty-
It's very
yeah.
informative.
And so for our next.
I've never worked with My Town Government before. I really like it. It's the first time in all the towns I've been in. It's the only one I've ever seen use it. It's very interesting.
Don't tell Eloise.
I like it. Oh, she doesn't like it? I
No,
like
she
it.
loves it. She-
Oh, okay. I like it too. Yeah.
Yeah, and Wayne, if for some reason you can't find the link in your email, you can go to My Town Government and it's posted there.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Maureen,
at our next meeting, we'll talk about the the revised application form Maureen's been working on, and we'll update you on the CP3 report that we will have filed by then. And we'll hopefully know more about our budget questions, and we'll have some word back from Stuart as to how we can take found money and utilize it.
Yeah, and Wayne, on the town website on the CPA page is the CPA plan that we did last year. If you wanted to familiarize yourself with it, that's where it would be.
We'll start to get more educated.
Yeah. Yep.
Super.
And we have to update that every year, so that's what we're working on. I did put on the conservation agenda to just discuss if anybody had any updates, if anybody on the commission wants to see anything updated.
Yeah.
So I should have that information before our next by our next meeting.
So if you look at conservation, I get Eloise to look at housing, we'll get June and company to look at historic and just look at those sections. MJ, if you have a chance just to scan through the general
Yeah,
outline of topics, and then Maureen's gonna give us an updated application form and stuff. So those are the main
Components.
components. So I think that'll work, and that we can focus on at our next meeting.
Right.
All right. do we
Now,
have a
well,
motion?
so wait,
Oh.
I do have one question. I should include, because I know we listed, the intent is to list projects that CPA has paid for in our updated plans. So we should update the conservation and the rec for the 3 projects that are done, correct?
Yes.
All right. All right,
That are
that's my only
funded.
question.
Yep.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I second.
And it's not debatable. And Carolyn,
Aye.
MJ,
I.
Eloise, silent as all. And Tim, aye.